Welcome to a guide covering all the zombies challenges that you'll need for the 100%er calling card. Many of them don't need any explanation or attention, but I'll be giving all the tips I have and looking at what will take the longest, meaning what you should be keeping in mind and trying to complete early. If at any point I skip over something you wanted to hear more about, you can leave a comment and I'll try to help. I saw plenty of interest in this guide after the previous video, and I did want to make it, even if just to prove that I did actually earn the Zombies 100%er, in case you thought it was an April Fool's Day thing. That would have been a very elaborate bamboozle. But no, there were no editing tricks. I didn't just put my name over someone else's account. To create a bit of extra confusion, I did plug in a PS4 controller while recording the menu scenes, but it was all real. On to the challenges. First off, as I covered last time, the gauntlets are not required for 100%er, even though for whatever reason, in an update they added them to this overall tracker, and it makes it look like you're farther away from the 100 than you are. But 100%er is still out of 6, which is referring to these 6 challenge categories in Expert and Toolkit. So if you're only going for 100%er, you can ignore the gauntlets, but feel free to do them if you'd like to make this number go up. There are some great YouTube tutorials to follow out there. I certainly couldn't make a better one. I couldn't even be bothered to follow one. Let's go through all these categories now. First, as a blanket, obvious tip that applies to the entire challenge grind, yes, you can play on casual difficulty, and yes, that is the easiest way to be doing everything. By far what I found to take the longest in the end were the operator mod kills in the prestigious category. First of all, I think you need to prestige to unlock these, so make sure you do that. Then you need 10,000 kills with each grouping of operator mods, and these are the exact same names and groupings that are in the multiplayer challenges. You might recognize them from there. So there's nothing to it. You have to rank up your operator mod weapon to unlock it, equip the operator mod, and use it. But I did that in a really inefficient way, so I wasn't even halfway done with these by the time I had done every other challenge. What I did was keep obsessively prestiging all my weapons and going for camos on a wide range of weapons, even if they didn't have operator mods available, focusing down a lot of the mystery box weapons first, but I realized that in the end, not prestiging your weapons is a lot more efficient, even if you do plan to max them out eventually. The reason being, when you get the green tiger camo, you unlock the challenges for kills with 0 and 6 attachments. You may as well wait for Green Tiger to prestige your gun the first time, because then you can be working on the no attachment kill challenge until you get 6 attachments, then work on that challenge until you prestige the gun a second time, and do the same thing again. But I, not thinking ahead, ended up hitting max weapon level prestige 2 at around the same time I got Green Tiger, and then I was done nearly all the challenges except these operator mods, and had to waste tens of thousands of kills using the operator mods on guns that I already had Green Tiger for. And an operator mod only counts as 1 attachment, but takes 2 attachment slots, so I wasn't even doing the 6 attachment challenge. I backed myself into a corner. I had Green Tiger on every single gun that had an operator mod available, and just had to suck it up and not be efficient with the camo progress. I know, a fate worse than death. And I also wasted a bunch of time prestiging every weapon instead of only using the op mod guns. So if you want to avoid that, keep that in mind. Focus on mainly using guns that have operator mods, and don't prestige them. And I mean, you never have to prestige them at all if you don't care about that. All you get is some extra character XP for leveling it up again, as well as the clan tag and kill counter. So who really cares? I do it cause I'm dumb and I don't like the feeling of XP waste. But again, even if you do want to prestige them eventually, use the operator mods for these challenges before prestiging. Little final note on the bayonet and stiletto knife challenge. This one isn't bad, it doesn't require as many kills. Just know that the vapor bayonet is the same strength as the Bowie knife, while the strife stiletto knife is only half that. So you can use the strife as your starting weapon to get early round knife kills, and then later you can upgrade to the vapor if you want to get more kills for that challenge. The rest of this category should be fine, some Bowie knife kills and using some perks, which should be easy. I'll mention for Deadly Eye, the Deadshot Headshot streaks. While I don't normally run the Brain Rot ammo type, I found it to be the best for this, because it seemed like all of the elemental types can activate and get kills that reset your headshot streak, but Brain Rot never does that. If you kill in one shot to the head, it doesn't activate, and if it does activate, the kills from the Brain Rot zombie do not ruin your headshot streak. Also, the 500 PhD slider kills was a little annoying since you have to charge it up, and it's only lethal up to about round 16 or 17 in casual, somewhere around there. After you notice that it's only knocking them down and they're getting back up, you could try shooting them a bit first, or sliding into them twice, but before long it'll take a lot of sliding to get the kill, so I'd recommend doing the same strategy I talked about in the other video when I was talking about getting those welling headshots. Run the temporal gift elixir to extend an insta-kill drop when you have a train built up, so you can charge up a few slides during the insta-kill. Having PhD as your modifier perk in the 4th slot also helps quite a bit with charging it up quickly. You could even spawn insta-kills yourself with Killjoy, then extend it if you like. Speaking of elixirs, the next challenge you should be aware of after those operator mod kills is Charmed. You should pay attention to this because it requires you to use 50 talismans. If you don't know about this one and aren't spending your Nebulium plasma properly, you might get big time screwed. Buying the Palladium package for 75 plasma will give you the guaranteed talisman, and this option will give you the most talismans. My friend Monkey used nearly 2500 plasma to open 54 of the Argon array, which is the 45 plasma each, and got 13 talismans. Obviously RNG is a factor, but spending that same amount of plasma on the 75 Palladium one, you would get 32.4 talismans, no RNG required. Nearly 3 times more talismans, and even if the carbon combo for 30 plasma gave the same odds for a talisman as the middle one, still definitely not better. I went with the 75s and ended up with a ton of leftover talismans, but not as many elixirs. Thankfully, we played so much during the double Nebulium events that he was able to switch it up to the 75s and complete the Charmed challenge without getting hung up on it, but it was fairly close, and we made great use of the double Nebulium, so I'd recommend opening the 75 package to not get slowed down by this challenge. Ignoring the challenge, I think elixirs are generally more useful than talismans, and I would say the middle package for 45 is probably your best bet for quantity and quality of elixirs, but I don't have any testing on that. The remainder of these challenges are all for elixirs and aren't too bad, but you do have to keep them in mind to be getting them done, and I do have some pointers for a few of them. Chug-A-Lixir requires you to be using your consumable elixirs, and you'll get 150 of them or more guaranteed while going for the 50 talismans, so that's no problem. However, if you want to save your elixirs for whatever reason, you can also do this challenge with the Newtonian Negation Whimsical Elixir. It does count towards the challenge, even though it is free and infinite. The effect lasts for 25 minutes, which is fun if you want to enjoy it, but that means you have to wait that long for it to charge up again, and by then it'll be a higher round, so it'll take a while to come back. If you want it to go faster, then right after you drink it, cancel out the effect by drinking a different elixir, then it'll start charging up again right away without waiting the 25 minutes. I don't know why I hoarded so many elixirs that I'm never going to use just for the sake of collecting. I'm very dumb that way. There's a similar strategy for Ace Up My Sleeve, spawning power-ups with elixirs. You don't have to do this with the nukes and the double points and the fire sails and all those consumables. You can also do it with the point drops elixir, being a free and infinite one, and it is pretty spammable every round as well. You just drop those 500 points and pick it right back up if you're solo. Spawning the drop is all that matters, so you can get that one done pretty quickly. There's also a challenge for point drops. Share the wealth, drop points to a teammate in 20 games. Make sure you know that is 20 games and not 20 times. It'll only count 1 time per game. For some reason, I just kept it on my class and played normally for a really long time with it, but you don't need to do that. To knock it out quickly, unless you're doing it with a friend who's doing the same thing and you can both do it, you could hop in solo with a bunch of bots, drop the points somewhere like on the podium stairs here on 9, because that's a bottleneck for them to walk through. They pick up the points, easy peasy, quit the game, and do that 20 times. It does work just fine with a bot. Then there's Perk Saver and EMT. These go together well if you are playing with a friend. One of you activates Perk Saver and goes down. The other person uses Nowhere But There to teleport to you and get the revive. Or if the other person isn't using Perk Saver, you can have your Scepter of Ra on you to get the revive without costing your friend their perks. Keep in mind, with Perk Saver, the challenge is for preserving 40 perks, not using it 40 times. So if you use Perk Saver in solo mode, you're only going to get 2 for the challenge each time, because you only lose 2 perks before getting self-revived. If you're doing it with a friend, then they can wait for you to bleed out longer until you lose all 4 perks, and then you can get all 4 counting towards the challenge each time. But it is perfectly doable in solo, and to give a solo EMT strategy, if you don't want to play in public matches, then you can do it with bots. I recommend only one though, so they don't revive each other, and all you have to do is lead them to a log trap, slide under it, and they will walk right into it and die. Yeah, pretty mean, but they rarely go down otherwise. They might self-revive at first, which is annoying. You might waste the elixir and find they got themselves up, but this is a potential way to make progress on the challenge. Final one I'll mention is Sanctuary. This one was on my class for quite a while. Avoid trap damage 80 times. What made it take a long time is that it seemed like you could only get credit for each trap on the map 1 time per game. So on 9, where I did basically all of the grinding, you'll notice all my tips are for 9, there are 4 traps that I know about at least. The log on the Raw Danu Bridge, the 2 logs that you can find running around underground, and the acid trap you can build without much effort after doing 3 of the banner challenges, collecting the 3 parts, and building it in one of the spots. If you don't know how to do that, there are plenty of quick guides out there, super simple, or you don't have to worry about it, but then you'll only be getting 3 traps per game. So if you play long games, that one is going to take a while. To wrap up the category, we have weapons and equipment, which is exactly what it sounds like. 10,000 kills with each class of weapon, and then 500 kills with each type of equipment. Nothing special to keep in mind here, you just gotta use them all. I got these done a long time ago because of the way I spread out my usage of the weapons, but I suppose if you rushed the operator mods as efficiently as possible, then these might actually end up being the ones that take longer. But all the weapon categories have at least 2 operator mods, except the pistols and assault rifles kinda don't, cause the stiletto and bayonet don't really count. But I don't think you should have to worry about these. We're done with Toolkit now, so over to Expert we go. Continuing with challenges I think are most important to keep an eye on, we'll jump to Survivalist for Perk-O-Lator, buying all 4 perks in 100 matches. Pretty simple, but this was one of my last challenges I completed just before all of the operator mods. Depending on the average length of your games, you may or may not have trouble with this one. Just keep it in the back of your head, so even if you're doing a short game, maybe only getting to round 15 for your tier skip or doing a daily calling, you should aim to buy all 4 perks before quitting to make progress towards this challenge. And doing that before round 15 should be no problem. You could even make a setup with the 4 cheapest perks like this to make it easier. That is the last challenge I think is really important to think about early. Plenty of other challenges require some effort, but didn't take nearly as long, at least with the way I was playing. Everything else in this category should happen on its own, except Shortcutter for me. Since I played so much 9, I had to jump over to Voyage or Dead of the Night to ride some portals back and forth for a while. Off the Shelf should happen naturally too, but for some reason I decided to rush it for fun, which you can do by just spam buying some weapons at the end of the game. When you decide you're gonna quit, may as well spend all your money. Somehow I managed to buy the Auger here mid-weapon swap, or I don't know. I was able to keep spam buying it so fast that it didn't actually give me the gun. I was just spending money on nothing, and each buy was counting for the challenge. I finally got the gun on the last buy. I have no clue how I did that, and I was never able to recreate it, so the next best bet to rush this challenge would just be to run around in the middle, buying the Strife and Model 7 since they're fairly close together and only cost 500 each. You really shouldn't need to do that though if you use wall weapons regularly, which you should be doing, but you can use that strategy for whenever there's a daily calling for buying wall weapons. I think that requires 20. I don't have anything to say about the rest of the challenges in here, so hopping over to Strategist, mostly simple stuff here, assuming you've learned the basics of activating the Pack-a-Punch and building the shield, knowing all the part locations. This won't be a guide for that because there are a million of those out there. It doesn't take long to get used to it. And then there are a bunch of challenges for using different special weapons, getting a bunch of kills with all of them. Then the Scepter of Ra has its own additional challenge for reviving 100 players. Now, that sounds like a lot, but something about the challenge seemed buggy in a beneficial way. I could never nail it down exactly, but it seemed like I was getting way more credit than what I was actually doing. Like I would get 3 revives in a game, and it would count for 8 or something weird. But the Scepter is hands down the best weapon to be using anyway, in my opinion. It is the most lethal, it has the longest duration when you activate it, so you can usually just use half of it and then put it away. And it allows you to revive from afar, while preserving all of somebody's perks, meaning their meal kick weapon too. It seems like by far the best special. Reviving with the beam is super easy too. I used to think you had to hold the beam on somebody to keep reviving them, but you just have to tap them once with it, and the full revive will happen. And if you don't know what I mean by most lethal, cause the beam isn't that strong, and if you do the regular melee attack, it's pretty slow, but when your staff is level 1 or 2, if you spam whatever you pressed to bring out the weapon in the first place, which for me is on control, cause I'm strange like that, you do a very rapid melee. I did that in the last video and I saw some people wonder how the hell I did that. So there you go, I assume it's a glitch that has yet to be patched, and it's very handy to take down anything in front of you very quickly. Sadly, when it gets to level 3, you can't do that anymore because pressing that button will plant the Scepter to create the reviving and burning bubble, but that ability is pretty dope as well, so this challenge shouldn't be a problem. I love the staff. If you want to focus this challenge down though, like if you prefer to get back to playing Aether maps, you have plenty of options. Either you can work with a friend who's going down for you, that's the ideal situation, or you can do that thing with the bots again where you lead them into a log trap, or you can just hop in a public match and either try to convince people to die for you, or just hope that they aren't very good, and you could run the nowhere but there to make for an easier revive. That's all I have to say for this category. Finally, we've got Zombie Hunter, which is kind of like the boot camp of zombies, and nothing too tough in here. More Than One Way is an interesting one, though, for killing catalysts with their corresponding alternate ammo types. The thing is, I only ever used one alternate ammo type for the most part, and got this done over time without ever thinking about it. But if you wanted to know more about this challenge, well, you basically have to memorize a few Pokemon type matchups. You use Kilowatt on the water catalysts, Cryo Freeze to kill the gas dudes, Brain Rot to kill fire, and Firebomb to kill electric. So actually, Pokemon would only help with the first one of those. Anyway, if you can remember that, and you carry 3 different AATs on you at all times to try to use the correct one, you'll be getting this done faster. But honestly, you shouldn't have to worry about that. Just make sure you are double pack-a-punching and using some sort of alternate ammo type as much as possible. Also, I find Catalyst zombies spawn much more frequently in solo. I don't have any hard proof of that, but that might also help get through the 500 transformation denies if you find that's going slowly, for killing them while they're emerging from a zombie. And Power Killer actually took me a while, only 5,000 pack-a-punched kills, but that is only for a single pack-a-punch. That's why it can take a while if you were confused by that. As soon as you double pack, it doesn't count for that challenge anymore, and I typically double packed right away, but that isn't a hard challenge once you know about that, and I don't have anything to say about the remainder of the category. Those are all the challenges required for the Zombies 100%er. Really not that bad. If you're efficient, it may only take 4 or 5 days of playtime, 7 or 8 if you're more like me and did a bunch of dailies and messed up with the operator mods, or it could take way longer than that if you're not paying any attention to the challenges. But really not too bad of a grind. Definitely a whole lot simpler than the multiplayer. So if you were considering giving it a go but weren't sure what you were getting into, hope that gives a good idea, and you should now know what to be paying attention to early so you don't end up stuck on it later. As I said at the beginning, feel free to comment if there's a challenge I skipped over that you wanted to know more about. Good luck if you're going to be doing these challenges, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.